Welcome in to a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show right here live from the undisclosed location. Coming up this morning on the Jordy Culotta Show, we will talk to Roman Banks. Marshall Faulk, is he a real choice? Is the possibility of Southern's next head football coach? We talked a little bit about that last week of the craze of some of these former big-time athletes, Deion Sanders, Eddie George, Marshall Faulk, now a possibility at Southern University. We'll talk to Roman Banks, 8:30 this morning, 8:45 this morning. Banks in some meetings, and he'll stop by at 8:45. We'll call him 8:30. Your food questions for the chef, Jean Paul Bourgeois, will be here at 8:30 this morning. Anything you want to talk about with the chef, get inside of the bunker. Make sure and drop the hashtag JCFood. Ask the chef, whatever it may be for chef.
Whatever you feel like hashtagging, we'll do
just
it.
make sure it's got food and the show involved in it.
That poor guy, he's just like no idea what he's going to get from us. He has to answer on the fly. He's like, oh, you were talking about ribs for 15 minutes? I guess I can do that.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it.
It is. Well, but I was saying that because my mother was like, if you put me on that show and you do what you do to that chef and make me answer questions like that, it's not going to go well.
Oh, wow. Lily, I thought you were a true professional.
She was.
Yeah,
maybe she is. Maybe she is. Maybe she's a little nervous.
She
we're going to put her on the hot seat next time she gets in here.
I need ribs for 30 people. Go.
7:30 this morning, we're talking LSU football with Mickey Joseph. Tomorrow night is the first round of the NFL Draft. LSU seems like they'll have 2 wide receivers come off the board within the first 32 picks. We'll talk to Coach Mickey Joseph, the associate head football coach over with the Tigers, at 7:30 this morning. Some of the stories coming out of spring, some of the storylines going into the fall, and how he'll be taking in tomorrow night's NFL Draft. Remember, every single morning right here on the Jordy Culotta Show, our coffee is locally brewed by Majestic Coffee. Majestic is locally brewed down in South Louisiana. You can find them on social media and every day a part of the Jordy Culotta Show. All of our guests this morning are going to appear via the phone line, which means compliments of Metropolitan Health Group, our friend over there, Charles Harvey and Jason Ramazan. Every single day, their support here of the Jordy Culotta Show, helping us out with all of our guests on the phone lines. Metropolitan Health Group, real doctors, real solutions. And, of course, Go Chevrolet powers us every single day. Stop in and see Go Chevrolet as they are conveniently located off of I-10 in LaPlace, Louisiana, and have a brand-new used car lot right here in Baton Rouge on Florida Boulevard that you can pick up anything that you may be looking for. Go Express Auto Sales, a part of the family over at Go Chevrolet. Katie's here. Lloyd's here. Jack is taking a final this morning.
So many places I'd rather be.
I don't miss
God, than in a testing center right now. Did y'all have the testing center? How did it go for y'all?
Yeah, I had the testing center. We used to go to the old where the athletes would eat, the old cafeteria over there, and that was a testing center for us, like a math testing center, right when I got on campus. But
Wait,
that
you didn't take tests like in the classroom? In your classroom?
Not in my first 2 years of math on campus, I didn't. But
like everybody went to a different area to take tests?
Yeah, I guess so.
Really?
There were like different times to take the test.
What?
Yeah, you schedule it?
Yeah, and you would schedule
You
the
did
test.
this too?
Yeah, ours was different.
Did you go to LSU?
I did.
Okay.
Graduated and everything.
I believe
it
you.
or not,
We
master's
just never
no
had
big
that
deal.
conversation. Where'd you go to school?
We went to like I don't even know where it was. You had to go down the stairs, and then everybody was lined up outside. Like, of course, it was for a final. Like, people were lined up like 5 minutes early. Everybody had their notebooks in their hand. People were smoking cigarettes and like cramming. Like, everybody's eyeballs are this big because they're all just cracked out. Like, you couldn't find a snack there if you wanted to.
Those are some of the most stressful times of my life still today.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, even like looking back. Yeah, no. Besides the mortgage test, I mean, like going back to just school in general. What a stressful time, man.
Do you still have those dreams at all?
Of like missing the test?
Yes.
No, mine's more of missing the show.
Yeah.
It's kind of where my nightmare is turned. But it's
missing the show.
And just like you wake up and it'd be like 7:03.
Oh man, I would think like 9:15. You're like, well, I guess I just didn't do. No shot.
What's worse though? I mean, I still remember I had my co-host back. It was T-Bob. T-Bob woke up at like 6:55 and tried to like haul ass in. Got there and he was so pissed and shook and anxious the entire time that it probably would have just been better just to stay home that day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Rather than and since then, my nightmare was like waking up at 7:04 and having 1,000 missed phone calls or missed texts. Where are you at? But now that we're doing our own thing, the nightmares
kind of quells a little bit.
Right.
Now you don't sleep soundly enough to sleep through.
See, you're the
exactly
first
right.
person I've heard
Right.
say that, because when I worked at the same place, Ronnie Rance was we had sports shorts from 10 to 12,
Yeah.
and we'd get that phone call about 9:58, like,
Yes.
patch me in on the phone, like
Yes.
I'm going to do it on the road. You could hear his car
Yes.
trying to get wherever.
Switching
Like,
lanes.
yeah, it's like, is this even a big deal?
Yeah.
Like,
Rance is a Hall of Famer at that. Though.
yes, all
I mean,
2 wheels.
The absolute, first ballot Hall of Famer when it comes to that stuff. LSU baseball back in the win column last night. Devin White is signed a new endorsement. A story we did not get to yesterday, obviously, over the last couple of days with the news of Kim Mulkey being introduced, and then yesterday reacting to the press conference. Her contract figures have come out, and she is making some money. You knew that they would have to open up the checkbook, but it looks like, as Brody Miller, a friend of our show, has reported and tweeted out yesterday, Mulkey, who made $2.27 million a year at Baylor, replaces Nikki Fargas, who was making just over $700,000 a year, is set to pay Mulkey. LSU is set to pay Mulkey $2.5 million in year one, and will increase to the north of $3 million by the end of the deal, which runs through 2028 and 2029. So a long-term
nice
commitment
gig
for Coach Mulkey that will pay her about an average of just under $3 million a year for her tenure that is underway. And look, anybody that just sees the price tag and sees the number and wants to immediately criticize, you have to look at the return that's happened in the last 48 hours in just this news popping. Cody Worsham tweeted yesterday they've got over 2,000 fresh new deposits for season tickets at LSU women's basketball. The social media at LSU women's basketball has gained over 1,000 followers and has had nearly 80,000 impressions since announcing the news on Sunday afternoon that Kim Mulkey was the next head coach. You may not see the return on investment immediately, especially with the price tag being as high as it is, but it's coming, and it's going to come in waves as far as interest and far as the return goes on Kim Mulkey, and you have yet to unleash her on the fundraising grounds of our state. So I know that this number will pop you in the face, or it'll shock you a little bit when you see it on paper. But people had to understand that you were going to be around $2.5 million. I mean, rewind the tape and go back and listen. We knew that this number was going to be around this area because of what she was making at Baylor. She wasn't going to leave for less money.
Well, no, that'd be crazy.
It would have been.
If I was Nikki Fargas, I'd be like, okay.
Well, I mean, Nikki Fargas,
Okay.
look at the accomplishments.
I know.
And Nikki needs to be very, very happy that she was able to squeeze 10 years of that contract out of the state. She made a ton of money
Yeah.
for what she was doing. And her accomplishments, you could be argued, didn't garner that number.
Right.
This resume is as good as you'll find in the sport. Outside of Gino Auriemma, and he's not leaving UConn ever, Kim Mulkey is the alpha of women's college basketball, and you're getting her 22 years into her career, 22 years worth of accomplishments that include 3 national champions, multiple. I mean, she said the number the other day of Big 12 championships, and it was like something like 18, or I mean, it was a crazy number. And you know, she graduated. Everybody that started in her program graduated. So as Scott Woodward said, and I think he said it so elegantly when he was introducing her, there is a probable possibility, most probable possibility, of when you commit to play basketball for Kim Mulkey now at LSU, you are going to leave with a degree in one hand and a ring on the other hand, and possibly multiple rings, championship rings. And that's what the resume says. And you knew that this was going to be a price tag that was going to be around this number. Now, the elevated increase, good on Mulkey and her agent for getting the best deal. And I think that LSU will see this back in return, and that the interest and the intrigue created around this hire is well worth the number.
Who is Baylor going to replace her with?
It's a great question. It's a great question.
And I mean, I'm sure there are lots of contenders, right? Like
yes.
her assistant coach, is that one?
She introduced a couple of her assistants the other day while she was there, so I'm not sure what her plan is. Mm-hmm. I would say that Baylor right now has got to be a top 5 job in the sport.
Yeah, for sure.
Just of what she's left behind, and just because of the facilities, the recruiting budget, the administration and what they understand, the power of women's basketball and what it could mean to the campus. Mm-hmm. So I'd imagine that it is a very intriguing job, and I won't sit here and act like I know any names that may be, hot commodities in the women's college basketball game. I just know that that's as good of a job as you can find in the way that she left it. I mean, you want to talk about a transformation project, go ahead and do a case study on the way that Kim Mulkey found the Baylor women's basketball program and the way she's leaving it. Right. I mean, you want to talk about from the outhouse to the penthouse. This thing is now garnered and respected within the sport of being one of the best jobs there. So I don't think that the interest will be a problem.
Right.
I don't know which way that they will go. But Kim Mulkey and LSU, on their terms made public yesterday, is going to cost LSU about $2.5 million a year. And as this thing increases, it'll be north of $3 million a year as it gets close to the expiration date in the 2028-2029 season. Some other news from yesterday around the area: LSU baseball back into the win column as they were able to blank Grambling 6-0 beat Grambling 7-0 yesterday as the Tigers improved to 25-15. Mikhail Hilliard earned a win after 3 shutout innings of work, allowing just 1 hit, no walks, 5 strikeouts, and that sets up LSU's series this week that starts at 6 o'clock on Friday versus number 1 Arkansas. That'll be in the box, Skip Bertman Field. First game will be televised on the SEC network. The shutout last night was LSU's 5th of the season, and LSU improved the Tigers' midweek record to 10-0 on the season. So midweek games matter, bro.
Yeah, dude, he probably made it a priority.
Absolutely. So Arkansas in town this weekend for a 3-game set that will begin with LSU and the Hogs on Friday night, as that will be game 1 on the SEC network, game 2 Saturday, and then wrapping up the series, game 3. A lot of interesting takes yesterday from Hunt. If you missed Hunt Palmer on his usual Tuesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, he was talking a little bit about the success of Arkansas, how good this Arkansas team is, and a little bit about the rivalry that has kicked up between LSU and the Hogs. So this should be an interesting series as Arkansas, we said yesterday, man, it's tough to imagine a team that can be that much better than the conference has shown LSU here through the first 6 weeks as the Tigers have run and seen Mississippi State. They've seen Vanderbilt. They've seen Ole Miss all up close. And Arkansas has been the team that has garnered and held this number 1 spot for the majority of the season. So how good can Arkansas really be? Well, you'll see firsthand at the box coming up this weekend.
I think they're pretty good.
Yeah,
Are y'all going at all, either of you?
I don't know if I'm going to make – I haven't.
Jordy's got flag football to deal with.
We're going back to New Orleans.
Y'all are.
That is get to the truth of this thing.
On Friday?
We're going back to New Orleans on Friday night.
Well, he got served for the B team. Now he's ready for the OA team.
Well, I think it
proved their worth.
Very prideful city down in New Orleans.
Yes.
Obviously. A lot like the pride that we carry down here in Baton Rouge, especially about our youth league sports. And the Baton Rouge boys showing up on Friday night and going 2-0 didn't sit too well with the New Orleans boys.
Yeah, I bet.
BRB, we'll be right back.
Yep, they are. They got 2 more games for us this week that they claim are 2 of the top teams in the league, maybe if not the 2 best. And the Baton Rouge Bruins are jumping on the team playing again, heading for a road trip, back-to-back road trips, heading into the Devil's Den 2 weeks in a row.
Are any of the other Baton Rouge teams traveling like that?
No.
For flag football? Just yours?
Yes, absolutely. There's only 4 teams in the league.
Right. What do? They just hang out here and play each other?
Yeah, well, I mean that's been the deal. I mean, we've been playing round robin each week, and this would have been the 4th time that we've all played each other this week.
Wait, so are you kind of messing up the round robin by now that there's 3 teams?
No, they're happy to see us go. I mean,
they're tired of losing.
Don't have fun in New Orleans.
If we're all being honest, you know what I mean? Like they have got no problem with us not being there. And that's not a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just there's only 4 teams in Baton Rouge. The scene in New Orleans on a Friday night, I don't mean to get into this again, but we saw it for the first time. Last week up close, and some of my parents had their eyes opened picture Burbank soccer fields.
Yeah.
With every field with a game happening on a Friday night. When you pull up.
Yeah.
I mean, the complex in New Orleans, LaSalle Park, is comparable to that. It's 2 doors down from the New Orleans Saints facility. You can see the top of the Saints facility from the field when you're standing out there. When you pass by LaSalle Park on Airline Highway on a Friday night in New Orleans, it's as far as the eye can see, there's youth flag football happening.
That's amazing.
On a spring Friday night. And, I mean, they've got 88 teams from 4th grade to 8th grade
and there's 4
that play
here.
in that league.
That's crazy.
And we're a 4th grade team playing in a 5th and 6th grade division in Baton Rouge because there were no 4th grade teams available, and we're one of 4 teams. And we're 8-0 in the league. And I'm not saying that we're that great of a 4th grade team in Baton Rouge against 5th and 6th grade competition. I'm just saying that a lot of the competition in Baton Rouge is focused on playing baseball.
Well, yeah.
And that it's a totally it's a totally different it's just a totally different scene on a Friday night in New Orleans, and it's incredible. It's incredible to see the interest and the amount of support that league gets. And I will say, and Wes Shin, who's our guy, as he pointed out, Jeff Berg does an incredible job of running that league down in New Orleans. And Berg he's like a prominent lawyer down in New Orleans. And last week, I mean, he's refereeing a game.
That's cool.
I mean, he's got stripes and a whistle on, and he's out there refereeing games just to make sure that the league is functioning. I mean, you like to see that. You like to see your commissioner, the guy that's running the league, a part of it like he is. And it's
could you imagine Roger Goodell on the field during an NFL game?
that would be the comp, right?
That would be awesome.
So, I mean, it's just it's an incredible option. And I think that youth and kids in our city will start to realize, because it's so popular in the fall. I mean, if you see the flag football scene out at Traction in the fall, I mean, it feels a lot like that. I mean, there's just team after team in every grade level.
It just comes down to baseball being so popular here.
It does. Yeah. And how much the time commitment of baseball really is, because there should be an opportunity. And I got a couple of players on my team that play baseball.
How do they do both?
Well, like last weekend, they couldn't.
Yeah.
Like last weekend, the dominant baseball players, and there was 3 of them, missed the games. They didn't go last week because some of them were in Beaumont, Texas. Another one was in a big tournament down in Lafayette. So, I mean, the time commitment sometimes does cross over and, compromises the weekend. But like for Jordan's stamp, I mean, Jordan's playing 2 sports right now.
Yeah,
he's just not playing baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, we spend every weekend, Friday nights, we're on a flag football field. Saturdays, we're really in Mandeville primarily. I mean, that's really where all these AAU basketball tournaments are happening here locally. And, after listening to like Joe Burrow's dad, who I've got a pretty good relationship with, he and I kind of text back and forth, and sometimes I'll send him stories about, the youth Little League field, because he's so relatable to that. He grew up with his kids doing that type of stuff, and he's got great stories from those days. He's always urging me to put him in more sports. Let him see more stuff. I want him to get him. I was talking about trying to find a track group around the area that I could put him in, and he was urging me, do that. Find somebody around the area. There's got to be somebody that has a track club.
Take advice from Jimmy Burrow.
Right, absolutely. But more not Joe's dad, the coach. The recruiter, the guy that has gone in and evaluated athletes for 40 years and will always come back and say the guys that play multi-sports, or the athletes, male, female, that play multi-sports are better prepared for the next level, whatever the level that they're taking, the next level that they're making. I mean, we talked to Kramer Robertson earlier this week. A lot of people, I got feedback from our interview saying, I didn't know that he was a good quarterback. I didn't know that he was a standout football player.
Yeah,
and people would go back and watch his YouTube highlights, and he was an incredible football player. I mean, just think about the way that he runs and can move at shortstop. Think about his ability to run the option. Think how good his hands are when he goes and fields and just, makes the transition and make the throw over to first base. I mean, he's very smooth. I mean, think about those hands running an option and just controlling the ball and being able to, pump fake and make throws. I mean, he was a stellar football player. And even him, I saw him at the press conference. All he wanted to talk about was football. I mean, he's a baseball player. They got released from a major league organization on Monday to fly out to go to his mom's press conference. And when I ran into him at the press conference, all he wanted to talk about was whether it was going to be Max Johnson or Miles Brennan. I told him, go ride Max, bro. 1-4. It's over. All right, let's link up with Mickey Joseph, who is LSU's associate head coach, as he'll stop by here, talk a little draft as the Tigers get set for what will be an eventful draft night for LSU, as it seems like two of the top wide receivers on the board will go in the first round from Baton Rouge, or from LSU, and Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall. Their position coach the last couple of years has been Mickey Joseph. He's also the associate head coach. We will talk to him next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Daily, we're brought to you by Falaya Real Estate. Remember, you can sell your house by yourself and save thousands. It's do-it-yourself for selling your house. Welcome to the empowered world of real estate. Sell your home like a pro. Buy and sell yourself. Save thousands. It's TurboTax for real estate right here, provided by Falaya Real Estate. Our friend Barrett Blondo, you can give him a call, 939-6153, 225 area code 939-6153, or online at falaya.com. Download the app today, wherever you get your applications at, whether it's Google or Apple. Download the Falaya app. If you're looking to sell your house this spring or thinking about trying for sale by owner, then you need to check out Falaya listing plans, which start at only $399. Sell your house for yourself and by yourself. Save thousands with Falaya. Download the app, falaya.com. Proud supporter here of the Jordy Culotta Show. Mickey Joseph when we come back here. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, jordy@jordyculotta.show.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. jordy@jordyculotta.show.com to learn more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at Chevrolet, is located down in LaPlace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Relief Health, the only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home, health is delivered to you. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Download the app today, Relief Health, from the Apple or Google app stores. You can get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. Their COVID tests are live, and right now they have the Moderna vaccine. Online at reliefhealth.com or download the app from your Apple or Google app stores now. Relief Health, changing the way that healthcare is brought to you in 2021. Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, presented by Go Chevrolet. LSU football wrapped up spring drills with the spring game last Saturday, or a week ago on Saturday. Tonight or tomorrow night, they get prepared for the first round of the NFL Draft, where the Tigers will be very popular again this season, and wide receivers will be coming off the board early. Two of the most popular names to be featured at that position will be from LSU. The top player on the board is Ja'Marr Chase at wideout, and the other top player, one of the other top players, is Terrace Marshall, as both those guys. Chase, the first player in school history to eclipse the 2,000-yard mark in receiving yards. Chase in 2020, 107 receptions, 23 touchdowns. Marshall was banged up a little bit that season, but another stellar wide receiver there. Position coach Mickey Joseph and the associate head coach joins us back here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Mick, good morning. How are you, man?
Good morning, Jordy. How you doing?
Doing good. Getting prepared for tomorrow night's NFL Draft. I know that your guys are going to be coming off the board early. How do you take the draft in? You guys have had such an important piece of the draft the past couple of seasons. LSU names have been flying off the board. How do you guys watch it?
Well, I'll be attending the draft on Thursday. But right now, you're just excited for the players and their families. The opportunity to play in the NFL. It's a life's dream for these kids and these families, and you're just so happy for them. You're happy, for what they did for LSU and what LSU has done for them. Because at the end of the day, we prepare them for the NFL, and this is what we expect them to be.
What is that draft experience like, Mick? What's it like in those rooms, seeing all those big-time players and hearing the names called and seeing the agents, the GMs, everybody that's there on draft day?
Well, this will be my first one that I'm going to attend, so I'm sure it's going to be exciting, to see those guys. But, at the end of the day, Brother Vance being in the league, that's the sideshow. The business is when they put the helmet on and get on the field and making the ball club. But I'm sure everybody's going to be excited. It's going to be excited to see everybody. And like we said, we're happy for the families.
What are the questions, if there are any, around Ja'Marr Chase? I'd imagine that you've taken thousands of phone calls on Chase just over the last couple of years and specifically leading up to tomorrow night. But if there are any questions about him, he seems like as certain of a prospect that the draft has produced at the wide receiver position in recent memory. I've seen comparisons to Julio Jones as a prospect. As his position coach and somebody that has answered and fielded calls on him, what are the questions around his game and even off the field?
Well, just how he learned and his work ethics and things that can they move him around. And he checks all the boxes. Ja'Marr plays with a lot of power, running routes, coming out of the break, catching the ball. Once he gets the ball, he turns into one of the best running backs in the country. And his football IQ is really really, really high. You know, to ask the question, we didn't move him around in 19, but we didn't have to. You know, we had Jets at the F, and we had Terrace at the Z. We had Thaddeus at the Y, and we had Clyde at the running back position. So we didn't have to move them around. We moved them around, you know, when we wanted to, but we really didn't have to. So, but you know, the second year when he was coming back, we was going to move him around a lot. So he really took the bull by the horn and really got after it and learned everything that he needed to learn at the F position. So right now he's a two-way player. He can play X and he also can go in the slot. But you know, whoever deal, he's gonna have to deal with it. They're gonna have a tough time because he's so strong and he plays with so much power every play. So I'm excited to see what he's gonna be able to do on the next level.
Terrace is a first rounder, huh? I mean, just being his coach. I mean, everything that he does well, he seems like he checks all the boxes as a first round draft pick.
Well, he definitely does. You know, I always say Terrence is in ACC and you know the Pac-12 and his other conferences. You know, he's probably going to be a top 10 pick. Yeah. You know, just happen he plays in the SEC West, and it's tough. You know, it's tough. But Terrence is a first round talent. I mean, he's long. He's fast. You see how fast he ran. He's got great hands. He comes in out his breaks, and his football IQ is really high because what he can do, he can play X, F, or Z. He can play them all. You know, and that's the big thing that's wrong with him, that his football IQ is so high, but he's got sneaky speed. You know, he never gets caught, but he catches every ball. But I'm excited to see what he's going to do also.
There's a new number one in town as Kayshon Boutte is rewriting the record books as a freshman with the way you guys closed out the season versus Ole Miss, and it looks like in spring he just picked up right where he left off last regular season. Mick, what as somebody who recruited Kayshon, you have seen him now in 1 year in college football going into year two, and you're his position coach that spends so much time for him. What are your expectations for Kayshon going into year two?
Well, the sky's the limit for Kayshon. I thought after the second game of the season, the light went on in Kayshon head, the way we're going to practice at LSU, the way we do things at practice at LSU. I think the light went on. We didn't play him very much in the beginning of the season because, you know, they ought to conform to how we want to do things around here. And sometimes it takes them a while, but they know if they don't do it in our room and in the other room at LSU, we're not going to allow you to play, you know, because we win because of the way how we do things. And I thought when the bulb went on, I knew the talent was there. So, but right now he's mature. He's a totally different kid than he was a year ago. He's a real mature kid. He was over my house Sunday, and he's a real mature kid that he wants to get better every day. He's a leader of that room now, and he's still a humble kid, though. He's really a humble kid, but at the end of the day, he knows he's the guy, and he knows that, you know, the ball, he's going to get his touches, and I think he plays with a lot of confidence. You know, he's a quiet kid, but he plays with a lot of confidence. And like I said, the sky's the limit for him, and I'm excited for this season, not for just Kayshon, for that whole receiver group, because they've been sitting for a while. They show patience, and that's one thing coming here. You know, I take my hat off to kids who come play receiver at LSU because we do have 4 and 5 stars sitting in the room that hadn't played yet. Yeah. But like I tell them like this: you play at LSU, you just got to do it for 1 year. But we're gonna put you out there when you're ready, and when you're ready, that means you're NFL ready when we put you out there. So the whole room, I'm excited for the whole room. I'm excited for the young kids that's coming in. But I think Kayshon's the alpha in the room right now, and he knows it. And we're gonna feed him, and we're gonna keep feeding until we can't feed him anymore.
Yeah, Racey McMath would be a great example of that, right? In what you're describing, somebody that has the talent. If he's anywhere else in the country, he's a starter probably year two. He's got to wait his turn. Now he was banged up last season, but he goes out and tests. They see the film, and he's probably going to be a pro.
Well, I was talking to Joe Brady, and Joe Brady was like, some scouts thought Racey couldn't run. And I was like, well, no, Racey was a 10,500 meters coming out of high school. He just had a hamstring problem. So, and his best football is ahead of him just because he's just learning the receiver position. He was a late bloomer. When I say he's a late bloomer, you know, he's a great special teams player, but Racey's going to be a great receiver. I compare Racey to Russell Gage at Atlanta. You know, Russell played 4 or 5 months of receiver here at LSU, but now you see what Russell's doing on the next level. And I think Racey's going to be that same way. He's going to use special teams to make the team. But he's going to be a third receiver, and eventually he's going to be the second receiver because he's capable. He has all the skills. He's a big, strong kid because he runs well, runs good routes. He catches the ball better than some people think, but the thing about it, Coach, he's tough. He's got that dog in him. He's going to get after you. And you can't replace that. So now I'm looking forward to Racy. Like I said, I'm happy for Racy because he stuck around. He stuck it out. He could have, and one thing we do in my room, we don't talk about the transfer portal. We don't do that, because we made a commitment to each other, and that's what we depend on, and that's the rule in the room. So everybody's got to get in there, but it's just friendly competition within the family. I think Racy benefited from that, and he saw that. Okay, I'm not ready, and he continued to work, and now look where he's going to be a draft pick.
Is the dog, is that Louisiana dog? Is that stuff that makes them different, the athletes different from this state?
Well, I just think, like Coach O always say, toughness is in our DNA. Being physical is in our DNA at LSU. And I think if you come to LSU and it's not in your DNA, you're going to stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
So I think anybody that comes to play football at LSU, they got that dog in them. They tough because we look for that on film. Because you can't survive here being a soft finesse player, not here at LSU. Because we practice hard and that's how we're gonna win games. That's how we're gonna get back to the top because our work ethics and racing he's a prime example of it.
Mickey, what do you expect from this QB competition going into fall?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think Jake's doing an excellent job with him. I think when Coach O's ready to make a decision, it'll be a right decision. But I think all four of those kids, Miles a crafty veteran who's getting back to his own, got injured. I think Max is a big time quarterback, got a big arm. And then you go to TJ. TJ's got a big arm. He's big like Jamarcus Russell. Yeah. He's on top of the ball, and Nussmeier might be the best athlete of all of them, who's got a little Patrick Mahomes in him. So they all bring something to the table. But, being an ex-quarterback in Nebraska and being in a quarterback competition, it's tough. But I'll tell you one thing. Those four kids get along. They compete their butts off, but they get along with each other. And I you know what? With the receivers, we always say, okay, no matter who's in, we just want to know who we dancing with. Yeah. That's all we say. Who's in the game, and we know who's in the game, and we play to that kid's strength. But I think our receivers are comfortable with all four of them because they catch with all four of them. They were just catching with TJ yesterday. So they get their catches in with them. So I think the receivers were like, hey, let them compete. Coach, whoever wins. But I'm telling you, it's a great competition. It's probably one of the strongest quarterback rooms in the country, just probably lacking experience. But talent-wise, there's some talent in our room, and we're blessed here at LSU to have these four kids.
Yeah.
After spring, after the first spring, did you guys get everything accomplished from a installation standpoint under new coordinators? When you talk about Pete's and Mangus and you and Kevin Falk kind of working, James Craig all working side by side as far as the installation went, were you happy with everything that went down in spring?
Yeah, I think Coach Will was happy with what we had in, and we still got to tweak some things. And with Jake coming in, Jake's a hell of a energy, hell of a guy, hell of a football coach, and with DJ Magnus coming back over the passing game, that really helps us because DJ understood what we were doing when Brady was here, and he was sat right next to Brady's best friend. So we're getting a little bit of that back. But I thought, spring was productive for what we wanted to do. And, we're tweaking it right now. And, when the boys get back on the 23rd of May, we'll get back at it with them.
Last time you were here, I asked you specifically about Jack Besh, one of your four receiver signees coming in, and you were talking about how excited you guys are for him. Today I want to talk to you about Chris Hilton because I saw a picture of Hilton in the paper of him side by side with his dad who won the state track championship in 1989 compared to the state championship picture of Hilton winning in 2021. And Mick, when I called his games a couple of years ago, he looked like a track guy playing football. In that picture that they took a couple of weeks back at the state track meet, he looked like a football player running track. What are your expectations for this cat coming in that can run for days?
Yeah, I think Chris Hilton is probably one of America's best kept secret because he's such a quiet kid. He's so smooth. He's polished. They did a great job over at Zachary with him. I'm excited to have him. I think he's a kid that can come in and contribute right away. You know, he's going to come in, he's going to battle, but his body has changed. He's been doing our workouts since he's been since football season's been over exactly. So he's been on our workout, and he hadn't missed the workout. And he sends videos to let us know what he's doing, and we're excited about Chris. We think Chris going to come in here, and I think Chris is the next one that's going to be able to walk across the stage one day. You know, I think that's how much talent that he has.
Last one, I'll get you out of here. Appreciate your time, Mick. Evaluation for next year as far as recruiting goes. It seems like things will get a little bit back to normal where you guys will be able to put evaluations as far as getting them on campus. How much is recruiting going to intensify over the next couple of months with the rules and the regulations kind of going back to where it was?
Well, you know what? It's going to be normal for us, and we need it to be normal because, you know, my wife said I've been home too much, you know. Out the house. So we're excited to get back to normal with our evaluation because that's big on us with Coach O. Is big coming to camp, getting out to spring practice, watching them, you know. So that's big. I'm so happy that it's going back to the normal, you know, so we can get out there and we can do some true evaluations because it's hard doing it with Zoom calls and, you know, try to look a Zoom workout. It's hard when you can't put your eyes on the kid. So we're glad it's going back to normal and, you know, just appreciate the NCAA. I know they had to take their time with it. We understand that. But I would just appreciate the NCAA coming to this conclusion to say, okay, let these boys back on the road. Because at the end of the day, it's these kids' future. When you're asking these kids to make a decision that's going to affect the next 30 years of their life, and now you're telling them they can't even come on campus and take an official visit. So I'm happy for the class of 22. I take my hats off to the class of 21, especially our class, for trusting us. You know, trusting us what we said and keeping our word. And I'm happy for 22 that it did normal for these guys.
Speaking of 22, I know you can't speak specifically about players. Y'all put another huge fish in the boat last weekend, but this class is shaping up to be one of the greatest or one of the best in recent memory.
I think Louisiana's got loaded with talent in 22. I can say that.
Enjoy your day, Mick. Congratulations to your daughter on the graduation this morning, and safe travels to the draft tomorrow night. It should be a very successful night for LSU wide receivers. Yes,
sir, Jordy. I appreciate you, man. And, you know, go Tigers. And we, you know, like I said, we happy for all the families, happy for all the kids. And it's just the LSU way, the way we do things. Thank you.
Yes, sir. There he is, Mickey Joseph, checking in this morning. Thank you, Mick. There is good insight this morning from Mick as he's getting set to attend his daughter's graduation here on a Wednesday morning and setting sail for the NFL Draft in Cleveland tomorrow night as the first round will be underway from Cleveland. Expect Jamar Chase's name to come off the board within the top 5, and Terrace Marshall seems to be a late first-round pick. I've seen some of the slot picks of him at Baltimore.
That's the prevailing team I see. I think he's going too late.
I think so, too.
I think it might be I want to say it's probably because Jamar Chase, it's like, how can they have so many good guys come out? Yeah, Justin Jefferson last year, then Jamar Chase, then Terrace Marshall. Like, how loaded were they?
Well, I mean, turn on the film of 19. I mean, you forget just Mickey just talked a little bit about it when you were talking about some of the options, and pro scouts were asking why they didn't move Chase around in 19. Well, they didn't have to. They potentially had the NFL Rookie of the Year at one spot in Jets in Justin Jefferson. I mean, he was in the discussion for the Rookie of the Year last year all the way up until the last week of the regular season. You've got Thad Moss, who's one of the turned into one of the dominant tight end pass catchers at LSU. And then Terrace Marshall, who was, I mean, really, you talk to people inside of the program, Marshall was Burrow's most comfortable target as far as, like, he felt very comfortable with Marshall in the way that he would run routes, with the way that he would catch ball, just trusted him a ton. So I agree with you. I think that, I mean, remember, in the same recruiting cycle, Terrace Marshall and Jamar Chase were in the same recruiting cycle of 2017, I believe. And Terrace Marshall was the number 1 wide receiver in the country.
Yeah, if you didn't get hurt coming out of high school, right?
Right. I mean, Jamar Chase was in that same class. Now, Chase and Marshall are two totally different prospects in what they, in how they play. I think that they're both effective in the way that they play. But they're different in the game. I mean, like Coach said, Jamar is so powerful. He's so physical. He is so just a bully. You know, I mean, you cannot get into a phone booth with him. You cannot try to press cover him. You cannot try to jam him at the line of scrimmage. Even coming out of breaks, the way that he's able to shift 225 pounds from stopping it and turning it around on a dime is just, it's extraordinary. When you talk about a prospect, Marshall's he's smooth with the way that he runs, the way that he catches, the way that he finishes after the catch. He's not finesse because he can play physical, but he seems like he's just much more fluid. It comes to him a little bit more easy than the game comes to Jamar. They're both two dominant prospects. They're both two dominant wide receivers. I think that they're both first-round talents. Obviously, Jamar is a top 5, top 10 talent, and Marshall, I think, is a top 25 talent when you talk about just overall prospects in the wide receiver class. That was the recruiting class of 2018, not 17. Yes.
Do you think it's because of just how the NFL has changed a little bit in terms of getting players in space and the quick passes? Because if you drop Terrace Marshall in like a 2006 NFL draft, he's going top 10.
Yeah,
like just that body type, and that's what wide receivers used to look like.
Yeah, no, I think that it is probably an embarrassing of riches when you talk about the wide receiver group this year. I mean, there are other players in this draft outside of the LSU guys. I mean, when you think about Jalen Waddle, he's a hell of a pickup. Devonta Smith from Alabama, just to name two, that will probably come off the board before Marshall, which I could understand. I could go back and forth with you on Marshall with both of those guys, but I can understand if you wanted to go that way. But I also think that it's the emphasis that they're putting on throwing the ball now. I mean, and just wide receivers have almost become like defensive backs where you just need multiple of them on the roster. Look at the Saints roster. I mean, they've taken 7th-round undrafted free agents, especially over the last couple of years. I mean, Marcus Colston is the obvious example, but they've done it now a couple of times over the last couple of seasons just because they need bodies. They need guys that are out there that can play. So I think that it'll be interesting to see where Marshall lands. I think that late into first round, Baltimore around those selections is too late, but we'll see what happens. That was good stuff from Mickey Joseph, as we appreciate him stopping by here on this Wednesday morning and giving us a little insight to what and how the next 24 hours, as well as his thoughts on Kayshon Boutte. I mean, Kayshon Boutte feels like he is about to explode, and I don't think that he will be a secret. I don't think that he will be a breakout type performer because of just the reputation that he's bringing into the season, the way that he finished last year, the last regular season, was setting the record, the single game record versus Ole Miss in the final regular season game. Then the way that he, got back out there in spring and was showcased at the spring game and the way that he performed there. And then you hear his position coach talk about him going into next season and the expectation around him. Defenses will be rolling and trying to take away Boutte every Saturday, but I think that his talent is better than that. You've got to have somebody step up and take some pressure off of him. But it was interesting to hear Mickey Joseph and just what the expectation, the true expectation for a guy like Boutte is going into his second season with LSU. And I think the storm of Jake Peets, DJ Mangus coming back to campus with Kayshon Boutte set to really break out is kind of the perfect storm scenario. I mean, I think that this offense serves him perfectly. A playmaker that you can get in space, move around, put in different areas of the field to try and create one-on-one opportunities for him is going to be fun to watch on how they do that. But you'll have to have somebody step up around him to take the pressure off of him, because it will not take long before these high-priced and highly paid defensive coordinators don't start just trying to completely take him away from LSU, which, is going to be fair, because I think he's obviously their top option.
Well, it goes to show, if you look back at the 2019 offense, and we were just talking about it, how much it pays dividends to have multiple weapons at multiple positions, because you couldn't really take away a Jamar Chase because you had Terrace Marshall. You couldn't take away a Terrace Marshall because you had Jets. Like, it pays off to have people in those positions that know their role and can play it well. it'll be interesting to see who slides in where, and I think that's what we'll find out in the fall. Unfortunately, I would like to have somebody already there.
RMB Builders brings you the Jordy Culotta Show daily here. Remember, Rhett Bourgeois and RMB Builders can get you taken care of today if you need a custom-built home. RMB Builders can help you out. If you need just some repairs done around the home, they can help you out with that as well. I need to get Rhett Bourgeois over here about a bathroom question and possibly add on that he can take care of. We'll talk to Rhett Bourgeois. You can talk to him today just by logging online to rmb-builders.com, rmb-builders.com. I used to always go there for the phone number. What's the phone number? Say it.
225-921-7062.
921-7062, 225 area code rmb-builders.com. Rhett Bourgeois. He's the best, man. Commercially licensed as well. So if you need some help around the office, got some projects that you need commercially done, don't take RMB Builders off the list. They can help you out with that as well. rmb-builders.com. When we come back, we'll set you up for the second hour here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Your food questions at 8:30 this morning. 8:45, Roman Banks, who is the athletics director over at Southern University, is going to stop by. What is going to be next for the vacant head football coach position up on the Bluff? Is Marshall Faulk, the former Pro Bowler, the former All-Pro, the Hall of Famer, is he a real possibility as the next selection as Southern's head coach? We'll ask Coach Banks coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show at 8:45 this morning. Driven and powered every day by Go Chevrolet. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, jordy@jordyculotta.show.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. jordy@jordyculotta.show.com to learn more. Relief Health, the only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home or on site, Relief is changing how health care is delivered to you. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Download the app today, Relief Health, from the Apple or Google app stores. You can get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. Their COVID tests are live, and right now they have the Moderna vaccine. Online at reliefhealth.com or download the app from your Apple or Google app stores now. Relief Health, changing the way that healthcare is brought to you in 2021. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in LaPlace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022, 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Welcome back to the Jordy Culotta Show. Chili Vic says if Shelton Sampson comes to LSU and LSU is able to keep Aaron Anderson, those two on one team will be nasty. Think about Shaz Preston, too. Alongside Shelton Sampson.
I have a man
Aaron
crush.
Anderson, Aaron Anderson is a playmaker. Shelton Sampson is a big-time baller. Shaz Preston is just nasty.
Doesn't that kind of fill the spots of 2019? Doesn't it look like it builds like that same roster?
Look at those guys' highlight films.
Good. Dude, Shaz?
And then you think about some of these incoming freshmen with experience.
And we don't talk transfer portal here like that wide receiver you.
Absolutely. And if I am transferring as a wide receiver, I'm not even looking at LSU. Just because, ask Jonathan Giles how that worked out.
Ain't no room on the boat,
You know what I mean? You better be super special if you think you're just going to pop in this room and start making plays and stealing playing time, because Mickey Joseph was the number one player in the country coming out of New Orleans when he was a high school player at Shaw in the mid 80s.
Goes to show how much college football's changed. Nebraska.
Yes. He went to Nebraska as the number one recruit in the country.
Really?
And had everybody in the name. At the time it was like Notre Dame, Penn State, Michigan, like those were the people that were really Texas A&M, that were really like in the middle of recruiting wars, right? Like that was like kind of like the blue bloods of college football.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Mickey Joseph was
the crown jewel
of all of it, because he was like an option style quarterback. In the 80s, they used to just run this option where you just run the ball, and an option would be just you would put pressure on a defensive player to either take you, the quarterback, or he had an option to pitch it to the running back. And Mickey was the best option quarterback in the country.
Wow.
He was running it at Shaw for now the head coach at Ponchatoula. He was TJ Finley's head coach. If you can help me out on that, Lizzie.
I can't look anything up.
Hank, somebody in the bunker.
Hank, God dog it.
I'm always the one in the room that does not know this information. Y'all throw these facts out
really,
there, and I'm always so
really,
shocked.
Really,
like,
when I'm explaining, I'm kind of like telling you. Because I
know, because you know I don't know.
Hank Tierney. Hank Tierney is the head coach that he played for at Shaw. He was TJ Finley's head coach over at Ponchatoula. But it was and Mickey Joseph went to Nebraska and went and played for the Big Red Machine.
That's cool.
Nebraska in the 80s was Alabama
yes.
of the 2020s. So he really understands the recruiting aspect. He can be relatable in the sense of, hey, man, he can go sit down and talk to Shaz Preston and say, look, bro, I know that it's 2021, but even back in 1985, I had my home phone was blowing up. People were knocking on my door all throughout the night. People were, whatever the way in trying to get in touch with kids back then was what was happening. Mickey Joseph was on the other end of it. So he is very much relatable in that sense. I heard that was really kind of that's what turned the tide with Brian Thomas, was that Mickey Joseph was just having a lot of one-on-one human being conversations with Brian Thomas. They didn't talk about football. Joseph has told Jamar Chase's recruitment story. I don't know if he told it here, but he's told it to us publicly, maybe at our last stop. But he said the last year and a half of recruiting Jamar Chase, they never talked anything about football. They never talked anything about how LSU was going to use him. They never talked about how LSU was going to, put him in different places and showcase him for the NFL draft. It was more about just being able to get these guys to trust him, to trust that when the Sunday afternoon phone call that they're starving or that they may be a little homesick, that they can get in touch with Joseph and he can make them feel a little bit better. He can be that father figure away from home that they're looking for.
I could see that though, just from listening to him and talking with him.
Doesn't
He's very
he sound
even
like that?
killed,
His name has been brought up for the Southern job, and I don't know this directly, but I got to imagine that Mickey Joseph looks at the possibility of coaching Terrace Marshall, Jamar Chase, then backed up by a guy like Kayshon Boutte, and you got somebody like Chris Hilton coming in making $400,000 a year, $400,000+ a year to be the associate head coach at LSU, coach those types of players rather than, and I'm not discounting the Southern job, but as far as in Mickey Joseph's world, what the Southern job would represent would really be, and this is no disrespect, but it would be a step down. It would be a step back to go take a pay cut and try and rebuild a program, not rebuild, but just create your culture, the culture you want at a program, and go out and run it from a head coaching standpoint. Now, if he has these wild aspirations of becoming a head coach, much like Frank Wilson at McNeese, then more power to him. But I would imagine that move would have already been made if that's what Mickey Joseph really wanted, because he could do that. I mean, there have been jobs that have opened up over the last 2 seasons that Mickey Joseph has the ability to pick up the phone and say, hey, is this job going to remain open? Because if so, I'm interested. I mean, that stuff happens off the record if you've got relationships, and all college football coaching in general is relationships. It really is.
Right.
It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So I just think that Joseph, for a guy that's Louisiana born, Louisiana bred, a guy that was the #1 recruit in the country coming out of Shaw High School in the mid-'80s, somebody who has coached all around the country, understands recruiting nationally, is now back home as the associate head coach coaching the wide receiver position at LSU that pumps out first-round picks more than any other position in the sport, is probably a pretty comfortable spot for a guy like Mickey Joseph.
I mean, how could it not be?
I mean, just with the way that he is just the impact. Yo Wilson says, I disagree with that, Jordy. Okay.
Wilson.
I mean, and I know that that's probably debatable. That there are people out there that would disagree with that. But doesn't it seem like that's the case? I mean, we'll ask Roman Banks if Mickey Joseph is a true option coming up here at 8:45. But if Joseph was a real choice for that position, that should seemingly be a pretty easy deal to get done. It seemed like that deal would probably be done if Joseph was the guy.
Especially with the timeline that they've put themselves on, where they want to be. They said, we want to have a hire at Southern in 7 to 10 days after Odums left. So those rules would be in quickly rolling in motion. So
sure. And
to hear him talk about the class of 22 a little bit off, not off the record, but not really mention anybody in specifics. He was talking about LSU.
Yeah, and look, man, I think that the Southern job is a phenomenal job. I think that whoever gets that is getting a brand and resources to HBCU football that is a prominent gig.
Yeah, for sure.
I just don't think it makes a lot of sense for Mickey Joseph, and where he is professionally right now. I think if Marshall Faulk takes that job, if he's serious about it, and one thing that we've seen with these guys taking these gigs is that Deion Sanders really took it for Deion Sanders, right? Like, he's doing great things. I'm not saying that it's all about Deion. I'm just saying that Deion he's the prominent figure there. Eddie George has taken this Tennessee State job, and he's bringing in a staff like Jeff Fisher, former NFL head football coach, is going to be the defensive coordinator at Tennessee State. I mean, to me, if I'm at Tennessee State and I see Eddie George bringing in these resources at a position where George doesn't have any head coaching experience, and Deion didn't have any head coaching experience, but he was a play caller for a high school in Texas for a couple of years. At least he knew what the coaching trade was like. George has zero experience. He's coming in and he's going to have some help show him. I don't know how Falk would approach it. I mean, whether if Falk would use his Rolodex in the NFL to put together a staff or put together some names that could teach him how to coach the game first. You know, I mean, there will be some on-the-job training for a guy like Marshall Falk who's got zero coaching experience. I think it's a little overstated at times that guys without any coaching experience that there's this learning curve. A guy like Marshall Falk knows more football than probably 80% of coaches have forgotten. I mean, so he knows the game, but there's just parts of being a coach that you have to learn about running a program. I think that would be a fantastic hire. I think that would be an incredible hire. Just if Falk is serious about it, if Falk is taking this, truly to heart in the sense of wanting to build a competitive championship program for the city, the state, the university, and the alumni, rather than doing it for Marshall Falk's ability just to be a head coach. So I think that it's an interesting hire. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for Mickey Joseph. Chris Jarrell said Southern should just keep their remaining staff. Are they still in place? Is Dawson Odums not taking any of those guys with him to Norfolk State? I'm asking more than I'm really curious.
Asking?
I'm asking Chris Jarrell if he knows. If he knows that, because there should be, if people are still on staff that were under. Dawson Odums was a phenomenal coach. I mean, he did great things on the Bluff. So if there are still remaining staff members that are interested in carrying that on, I'd imagine that Roman Banks is speaking to them.
Yeah, but if you have an opportunity to hire somebody like Marshall Falk just to bring that cachet in, just to bring in the name and get – I mean, Southern's already very recognizable in itself, but, I mean, this is the wave, and if people want to hop on, it's really making HBCUs kind of pop, you know?
EWS says, I hope Falk doesn't. The coach can't be bigger than the program. You got to not only recruit but maintain eligibility, among other things, on that level. Yeah, that's what I'm asking. That would be my question. If I was close to that situation, is what are you taking this job for, Marshall Falk? Because all of the top line things that Marshall Falk brings to a program, we're all in, right? Like if you're Southern, we love the cachet, we love the attention, we love that you're a state-born athlete, Hall of Famer, Marshall Falk, right out of Carver High School in the New Orleans projects, and that you carry such a name within the sport. I mean, Falk, for all intents and purposes, really revolutionized the game. If you think back to those St. Louis Rams, even his college game, I mean, the way that they used him in college, but I mean specifically in the NFL, the way that St. Louis used Marshall Falk as a running back / wide receiver. I mean, he had seasons where he rushed for 1,000 yards and had 1,000 yards receiving. I mean, he was a super freak in football. He was, for a 4 or 5 year stretch, just almost an anomaly. When defensive coordinators talked about him, they would almost just kind of throw their hands in the air and say, we don't know what to do. We just hope he single-handedly doesn't beat us. So, I mean, as far as the player, the knowledge, the experience, the cachet of Marshall Falk in football, if you can get that guy as your head coach, man, everybody's all in. But then if he's bought in and really wants to take this serious and, build on the culture that Dawson Odums has created over the last 9 seasons, well, then you've got yourself a grand slam hire. I mean, you got yourself a serious home run hire in a guy that is probably, though the resume doesn't say it, overqualified for the job. So I'm looking forward to our conversation with Roman Banks coming up here at 8:45.
Can we move into another coaching news story?
Sure. Ole
Miss fired their O-line coach. I have a question about it.
Yeah, let me get there. One after we tell you about Johnson Spiller's dentistry. Johnson Spiller's. I'm going to see Dr. Spiller's this week, going in for the teeth cleaning. If you need that done, remember Johnson Spiller's dentistry can help you out. They've got 2 locations, Baton Rouge and Gonzales, Prepara Avenue in Gonzales, or on Perkins Road in Baton Rouge, in between Bluebonnet and Segan. Stop in and see Johnson Spiller's. It's not just about the mouth, it's just about the dentist work that they can do. They can help you out with all that. If you want Botox, Johnson Spillers can help you out as well. Online, johnsonspillers.com. They've got great social media. Find them there. Johnson Spillers, the proud supporters here of the Jordy Culotta Show. It is hot,
Lloyd with you?
sticky, and muggy outside.
Well, the door's open.
Yeah,
boys
it
and
is.
girls.
It's pretty bad.
It is bad.
Pretty warm.
So what's going on? Yeah, I saw Lane Kiffin fired
Lane
his
Kiffin
offensive
fired the
line.
O-line coach. So he said that it was not for, he said it was for football reasons, not related to any off-the-field issues.
Well, if you have to say that, it
That
makes it
means
seem
it's
like
all
I know,
something
what's
off the
going
field.
on? What are the off-the-field issues with Randy Clements?
I don't know. I just saw a
Really, y'all
picture
don't
of
know?
him.
I figured
No.
y'all knew.
No,
This was,
I don't. I mean, it doesn't sound like anybody knows that he's not going to let that out. But
if you're going
just
to
by
say
his
that,
statement,
though.
I think he's bringing attention to off-the-field issues.
Yeah. I just assumed y'all would know what kind of off-the-field issues.
No,
It is concerning if you're Ole Miss to see that happen after just 2 days after the spring game.
Yeah, that's the deal. There's got to be
so-
some drama surrounding
didn't
that,
they lead
right?
the SEC in rushing also last year? And he was their run game
I
coordinator.
don't know that. But that is, yes, a very peculiar move when you think about making it just a couple of days after spring.
Yeah, and that's the statement he put out.
Yeah.
So that's
So-
Yeah, led the SEC in rushing,
shady.
210 yards a game. I don't know if this or this firing has anything to do with how I really feel about Ole Miss, but I think they're kind of ready to pop. I don't know what Lane gets people excited, and it seems like they have a lot to build on. The defense was atrocious last year, but that offense, he can score points anywhere, and I don't know. It just feels like if he kind of has his feet in the ground at Ole Miss as opposed to his former stops where he was kind of bouncing around and ping-ponging everywhere.
Well, this is what he wanted.
Right.
He wanted to get back into big-time college football, SEC level, big paycheck, recruit at, on a national level, and he's got that opportunity now, and he's got a quarterback. And anytime he's got a quarterback, we've seen him dice up teams without a quarterback. Who was the running back that was playing quarterback at LSU? Blake Sims?
Yeah.
That he chopped up LSU with in that 2-minute drill and just taking the ball down the field, and still to this day the prettiest 2-point play I've ever seen run to put that game into overtime.
Ugh.
And then, oh gosh, remember the kickoff, the first kickoff in
Oh, yeah.
overtime?
Yeah.
What it was that crazy linebacker that signed with the San Francisco 49ers that got thrown out of the league, that went to Alabama. He was the butt.
Reuben Foster?
Reuben Foster came down
Unbounded.
and decapitated Leonard Fournette
Yes.
on that kickoff, and the place went. You could have heard a pin drop in Tiger Stadium. After 2 minutes before that, LSU was going to win the game.
Yeah. The momentum is strong.
And then that massive pervert Miles throws his kicker out there, and they kick it out of bounds because Miles wants to kick it into the corner. He wants to kick it into the corner of the football field, and instead his guy kicks it out of bounds, and they get the ball at the 35-yard line. 3-4 plays later, Alabama and LSU's in OT. 2 minutes later, it's over. Blake Sims, running back.
Les was treating kickoffs like they were a coffin corner punts. He's like, why don't you put him down there like you got a wedge in your hand? It was unbelievable. The amount of pressure he put on those kickers to do that. And of course he kicks it out of bounds. There's 90,000 people in there breathing down your neck. And all I'm trying to do is kick the ball straight.
The luckiest, dumbest man in college football's history.
Maybe in the world.
Les Miles. The moron of morons. Les Miles ran your program for how long was it? 12 years?
Too long.
And just doing stupid shit like that over and over and over again, and still had people out there in the public. Oh, he's a family man. No, he's a family man. I'll never forget going on. I don't even want to get into it, but just the people that would take up for Miles. No, he's a well, yeah, he's a family man.
Got a lot of families, man.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God. So I have some digging to do on the O-line.
Randy
drama
Clements will
Yes.
come out. We'll
this.
find out
I will do
shortly.
some digging.
Especially with a statement like that,
I know.
there's definitely something going on.
Yeah, he said it's in the best interest of both sides to part ways.
Oh gosh,
That was his
bro.
statement,
There's
the rest of his
definitely some drama there.
Yeah.
definitely.
We
some
wish
drama.
him and his family the very best.
Oh,
moving
God.
forward.
Immediate
So,
cut.
I mean, immediate.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yes, do some research.
I
on
don't
that.
want to
Do some
speculate on Randy's
research.
home life, but I bet he didn't want to go home.
No, it sounds like Randy is in
Randy's in the doghouse.
When you wish the family well, too, then yeah,
Yes.
you know there's something going on there.
A piece of news that we did not get to over the weekend: more history for Zion Williamson, and this one, and a short career filled with accomplishments. This might be Zion's most impressive. And Zion, this is from the weekend, so this news is a little aged, but we could not mention the latest accomplishment from the former number 1 overall pick to the New Orleans Pelicans. On Saturday night, Pelicans did lose to San Antonio, which possibly squashed their playoffs hopes. But Zion Williamson, had 33 points and 14 rebounds. The double-double was not enough to get the win for New Orleans, but it was, however, he went over 2,000 points for his short career. With Saturday night's numbers, Williamson reached 2,000 career points, that mark in just his 79th game. In the last 40 years, since they've been keeping stats within the NBA on this specific stat line, in the last 40 years, the only player that has gotten to the 2,000 point faster has been Michael Jordan, who it took 73 games to get to, which he accomplished back in 1985. Williamson has done that in 70 games, 2,000 career points, as the Pelicans fell in that one on Saturday night, 33 to San Antonio. But Zion had 33 points and 14 rebounds. Just the latest in a short list of accomplishments in the young career of Zion Williamson that just has to make you step back and say, whoa. I mean, that is
It's amazing.
whoa stat. I mean, think about the time he's missed.
Yeah.
Think about the games that he's missed.
Not even missed, but the load management that they did when he was playing like 15, 18 minutes a game. Like he had
Yeah.
this year, he's been out there we put out there for 40. But even when he was early on, whenever he was playing, it was like spot time almost.
Makes you want to get a pair of them shoes now, doesn't it?
Makes me wonder if we'll go into the Hall of Fame as a Pelican or as a Knick.
It seems like a Knick. It definitely seems like a Knick. But a lot of time, like we said, 2 years for the Pelicans. You got 2 years, and he gave you a peek inside of how he feels.
That smile.
He gave you everything. He told you how he felt. He told you how he felt about the place. He told you about he felt about playing in New York, about the venue, about everything that goes into playing at Madison Square Garden. It is on David Griffin. It is on Swin Cash. It is on Trajan Langdon to make that the most difficult decision that Zion makes in his entire life by just putting a championship caliber team around him. And that's all that they can really do. They cannot recreate Madison Square Garden. They cannot recreate Broadway. They can't recreate Manhattan. But they can create a championship basketball program or team around Zion Williamson that makes it the toughest decision for him to make. Because the money's all going to add up. The money's all going to be equal. The max contract that New York can offer will be no more than the max contract that the Pelicans can offer. Actually, it might be more.
Well, New Orleans can offer more because the Supermax.
Absolutely, the Supermax and his rookie contract. He's on the same team that he was drafted by. So the money from a basketball standpoint could actually be a little bit more. The endorsement dollar, in my opinion, would be the same. Endorsers are attracted to players. They're not attracted to geography. Ask anybody that Damian Lillard endorses whether or not it makes a difference that he's in Portland rather than Los Angeles. I see Damian Lillard on every Hulu commercial that pops across my TV screen. He's the point guard for the Portland Trailblazers, not the Lakers. I see Zion pushing Gatorade. Gatorade doesn't care that he's the stretch power forward of the point guard for the Pelicans rather than the Knicks. So when it comes down to the endorsement dollar, I don't think it's going to be any different. But when you look at the basketball team that the Pelicans have a chance to build around Zion, and 2 years is enough. A year and a half is enough. A couple of trade deadlines and some drafts, you can have Zion and the Pelicans deep into the playoffs. And that's what it's going to take. That's the only thing you can compete with. That's the only thing that you can show Zion that, hey, we're committed. We want you here long term because New Orleans is committed to winning championships, and you're the centerpiece of that. And whatever team we got to put around you, we're willing to do it. Now, we can't give you Madison Square Garden, but, we'll make 3 trips there a year. So, I mean, that's all you can control. Just make sure you control what you can control when it comes to Zion. Because a year and a half from now, 2 years from now, you don't want to be stuck looking around saying, what happened? I can't believe he's leaving. It's going to have to take the commitment on the floor, man.
Well, we talked about Bernie Madoff and how he probably woke up in a cold sweat every morning like, oh, my God, was this thing going to fall on my head? I feel like David Griffin has to feel that similar pressure of like, I have something here that is the pressure on me is insane because this could leave at any moment. This could go bad. I know you have a 2-year time limit, but you have to feel that pressure every morning when you wake up. Like, what can I do to make this go away or get better?
And he ratcheted it up last week in New York.
Right.
I mean, he gave you a little bit of a peek inside of what he's thinking 2 years prior to his decision. I mean, he at least told, that will be a video that people go back and find a year and a half, 2 years from now, if he makes a move. Well, he told you the first time he ever played at Madison Square Garden as a pro. I mean, thank you for asking me that question. I mean, like, it was almost as if he planted somebody in the press conference to ask him about it. So, look, you're right. The Pelicans should feel a little bit of the pressure at the upper level of management just because you got to make this thing work. You have to make this thing work. You cannot have Zion Williamson tell you he's leaving because he just doesn't trust that you're not going to be able to build a championship club around him. Because that's the only thing you can control when it comes to Zion. And as much as he loves New York and Madison Square Garden, you can't offer that. So you have to make that decision as tough as possible. Daily, we're brought to you by Relief Health. Remember, over at Relief Health, they are changing the way that healthcare is brought to you in 2021. Download the application today. Relief Health from Apple or Google App Stores. Get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without even talking to a doctor. Their COVID testing is live right now. In fact, they have the Moderna vaccine that they can offer to you over at Relief. Download the healthcare application today from Relief Health. Relief Health at your Apple and Google stores. Remember, if you're the boss out there and it's your responsibility on making decisions, Relief will come to your office, to your site, and administer the Moderna vaccine to your employees. They'll administer COVID testing on site if you need it. Relief Health. Download the app on Apple or Google App Stores. Relief Health. Get it today. When we come back, we'll answer your food questions here with Chef Jean Paul Bourgeois right here live on the Jordy Culotta Show, presented every day by Go Chevrolet. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy at jordyculotta.show.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy at jordyculotta.show.com to learn more. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022. 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn, and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Relief Health, the only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home or on site, Relief is changing how health care is delivered to you. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Download the app today, Relief Health, from the Apple or Google app stores. You can get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. Their COVID tests are live, and right now they have the Moderna vaccine. Online at reliefhealth.com or download the app from your Apple or Google app stores now. Relief Health, changing the way that healthcare is brought to you in 2021. Welcome back in here to the Jordy Culotta Show. Trying to do something about this locker room smell inside of the UDL.
Trapped in here.
Getting hot and sticky down here in South
is.
Louisiana.
No.
The humidity is making its way down here to the deep south.
The boy smells just burned in
Remember
my
when it was
nose.
cold?
Yes, I do.
I remember.
I do.
Can't remember.
Which makes our next guest. It makes him look even more smart as
smarter?
Even more smart.
He has settled in.
Good luck on those tests, dude.
Right,
There you go.
It's hot down here. Leave me alone.
It's hot.
For God's sakes, my grammar's gone. I don't know how to speak anymore. We're sweating through all the furniture down here. Good morning, Chef Jean Paul Bourgeois. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And look,
Morning.
man, y'all from South Louisiana, y'all just keeping it 100 with
We
vocabulary.
are.
I
We
love it.
are.
I love it.
Absolutely. I was on some duck camp dinners last night, man. It is such good programming. I was watching you and the boys just kind of take in the camp life. And really, it took me back to that email that I received from our Canadian listener that was from Louisiana, and how it just kind of takes you back home. And actually, I was watching the episode, Chef, where you guys were talking about the wetlands and
Yeah.
talking about how it's just kind of disintegrating in front of our face, and we don't really recognize it or talk about it. And somebody who all you have to do is watch one episode of Duck Camp Dinners to feel the passion that you have for Louisiana. And I think that's why we get along, because we have that in relation. I love our state, but I didn't know at the amount, the rapid daily amount of loss that we are experiencing down in probably the most beautiful part of our state, which is protecting us from the Gulf. Can you give our listeners just a little insight on what you were talking about on that episode of Duck Camp Dinners?
Sure. Well, it's no surprise that you have felt that way about coastal reservation or just learning about it, because the process takes, especially if you're in the swamps every week, or you're on the coastline every week for all of your life, you really notice those things within the course of 20 to 50 years. And so your perspective is a little outshined by the fact that it takes time for anybody to understand the actual, the capacity of how the land is eroding. And so through like animation, like you saw on the show, we're able to kind of show how, from anybody who's been in Louisiana for 50 years or just 5 years, what's happened over the last 100. And really it all boils down to the leveeing of the Mississippi River. And Mississippi River, before it was leveed, used to flood all the time and deposit silt throughout all the farmland, which is why Louisiana and all through the southern Mississippi and all the deltas has great farmland, because of the centuries and centuries and centuries of silt deposits that the river gave as topsoil for all this farmland. Now, as we leveed the Mississippi River 100 plus years ago, we did it because we wanted people to build homes. We wanted people to live in Louisiana without fear of flood and water damage and so on. And we did it with good intentions, but we didn't anticipate. We didn't know. We didn't know the science behind it. We didn't know the impacts, the environmental impacts, or geological impacts, the work impacts on people's lives when we did that. So it all came from good intentions. Unfortunately, what happened is that water, that river, the mighty Mississippi River, can no longer replenish the silt and the nutrients needed for the coastal wetlands of Louisiana, both saltwater and freshwater. And saltwater, I love saltwater fishing, right? I'm going to Grand Isle this weekend, going to have a blast with my friends and family for my birthday to go fishing. But saltwater is invasive and it's intrusive on freshwater, and the land in saltwater is not as firm as freshwater. Freshwater has all those root systems and structures and trees and grasses that keeps land firm. And as saltwater intrudes into it, it breaks down freshwater plants, freshwater marshes, which makes land softer, which is more easily erodible come hurricanes and so on and so forth. It really is just a devastating recipe for coastal erosion when it comes to saltwater intrusion, the lack of silt deposits from flood rivers and deltas, excess of, more and more, it seems to be more and more hurricanes and stronger hurricanes, invasive species such as nutria-rats, apple snails, carp, they all do destruction, damage. So it's not just one thing, although the Mississippi River and leveeing that off and all the dams that we put between Bayou Lafourche and Mississippi and all these other different tributaries, they all play a part, and is Louisiana, it's like how 90% of my friends work in oil and gas, right? Mm-hmm. Well, part of the problem is things like the Intracoastal Canal, which runs east to west through Louisiana. That's not supposed to happen, right? Like waterways are supposed to run north to south, not east to west. And so when those things happen, you introduce something that's not natural to land, and it reacts in a certain way. And what we're seeing is that it's allowing more salt water to get into our freshwater tributaries and stuff like that. Look, I've spoken about this at exhaustion. Like places like Houston are getting are flooding more and more for the exact same reason, because like places like Katy, Texas, they're all getting grown up and there's concrete everywhere. Katy used to be prairie and floodplains, and those floodplains used to absorb like a sponge all the water that Texas would get and Houston area would get. Now that Katy is all grown up and it's residential and commercial and it's concrete everywhere, water can't soak into those prairies, causing places like Houston to flood like it has over the last 10 years. It gets worse and worse and worse. And you're just seeing that over and over, and it's going to continue to happen in Louisiana. We can only hope to contain it through levees now, like basically blocking off places and drawing a line and through certain towns and communities saying, hey, there's not much more we can do here. We're going to build this levee, and everybody on one side of the levee one day is going to be full of water and uninhabitable. The other side, we hope to better save that. And it's sad, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what we can actually really do about it.
No, it is. If you have not seen Duck Camp Dinners, it just more of a little bit that you learn in watching. You take away the camaraderie, you take away the chemistry between the on-air staff and everybody that's involved with it. You learn how to cook and recipes and even some cocktails, but all the while you're learning about the state of Louisiana. That's why I encourage you, if you have not seen it, to check it out on the Mossy Oak YouTube station, Duck Camp Dinners, and our guy every Wednesday that's here with us, Chef Jean Paul Bourgeois, South Louisiana native from the Thibodaux area, is a prideful Louisianian, and it comes through not just through his cooking and through his accent and through his personality, but through his education and love of the state that is happening.
Well, I appreciate you pointing your listeners and everybody who follow you to that episode, because it truly is. It was one of the most rewarding episodes I've been able to. In college, I gave a lot of thought into going into coastal reservation in Louisiana, because I love this. I love the area, and we had been learning about coastal erosion and all the issues that Louisiana marshlands and grasslands and wetlands face, even as far as like 8th and 9th grade at E. White High School for Louisiana history class. And so that always stuck with me, this whole idea of every 15 minutes a football field of land, and all these different stats that you can see. And as I've grown up to better actually see with my own eyes how it's changed. And obviously I didn't go into that field, but it felt good to better do something, to better talk about in a way that at least got more people to understand that about our state. And you're a perfect example. And I think many people who watch the show kind of opened their eyes to that.
JeanPaulBourgeois.com is where you can find all of the information, including some of the spices over at Spiceology that he's cooking with every episode over there on Duck Camp Dinner. JeanPaulBourgeois.com. All right, let's get into the some listener questions that you got coming in here that are rolling in. Chef from Patrick Kimry, he wants to know, ask the chef if he makes hog head cheese and if other parts of the country have it.
Yeah. 100%. I do make hog's head cheese. I love making hog's head cheese. I've made it in a couple different variations, like a very Cajun way, where it's a little more emulsified or broken down parts of the head. The Italians also make a version. Actually, Italians and French, the Spanish, all make versions of hog's head cheese, which is why it came to Louisiana and became a kind of a staple throughout our meat markets in Louisiana. And so I've made a couple different variations in the Northeast around Pennsylvania. I believe scrapple, which I didn't know about until I moved to Louisiana. Moved to the Northeast in New York. I learned about scrapple. It's also made with parts of pig's heads and so on and so forth. So, even if we don't call it hog's head cheese, there are many places just within this country that serve hog's head in different variations, and then the Europeans have their own versions of it as well.
Chef Jean Paul, fisherman to fisherman here. I saw you went fishing over the weekend, and you did something that I haven't seen before. I did the OG way, which is just throw it in the water, grab your beer, and hope something bites it. But you did a little sight or spot casting. Let us know what that is, and if I should dabble that water.
Yeah, so apparently one of the few places in the United States or in the world that you can really do this is in South Carolina. And it's because the tides go anywhere from 6 to 8 feet switch between highs and lows. And those from Louisiana know, like, that's huge. We may have 1.5 feet or 2 feet tide come in and out. Well, in Charleston, in the low country, they have these big swings in tides, and during full moon phases, it only happens like 20 times a year, because the full moon phase has to do with the high and low tide at a certain time, and they call it a king's tide or a flood tide. And so basically, what you're doing is you're nosing up to some grass right like an hour and a half before high tide or the flood tide. And then as the tide comes in, it floods these grasslands of the low country. And there's these fiddler crabs that live in these grasslands. But when it floods, they go underneath and bury themselves in the mud. And what has happened, the redfish come in. They know it's flood tide. Fiddler crabs are one of their favorite things to eat. And so they go and they dig up fiddler crabs with their nose. But what happens, because it's only in about 1.5 feet, 2 feet of water, you can see their tails out of the water, kind of digging at the crabs. And so you can see the tails of the redfish digging in the mud throughout that kind of flood, that flat that's been flooded by this king tide or this flood tide. And then you can fly cast them, which I didn't do. I use a spinning reel, so I can't claim that type of coolness, because that would be the next kind of level up from spot casting is using a fly rod. I use a spinning reel and just got it kind of, you can see where they're going, and you spot cast them, you cast near them, and you kind of let that bait sit on the water, and they do their thing. And where we were fishing, especially, they're very mature redfish that the one that you saw that picture of is all the ones that come eat there. They're coming out of the ocean, and during that flood tide, hitting those grasslands, catching those fiddler crabs throughout the low country.
Hey, Chef, do you ever use spaghetti squash as a substitute for pasta? And if you do, how do you prepare it? I'm having a little trouble with that.
Yeah, I have before. It's not my favorite substitute for pasta.
Okay.
At this point, I'd rather use just regular zucchini or carrots or squash and use a spiralizer. Have you ever used a spiralizer?
I have not.
Oh, I have. There we go.
If you go on Amazon and they're like $20, it's when you see those carrots and or zucchini noodles.
Yeah.
I've
seen it.
That they use a spiralizer for that.
Okay.
So I prefer that. But if you want to use spaghetti squash, one of the things I think is the biggest because I like spaghetti squash that has a lot of texture and integrity yet and doesn't turn to mush. And the reason why it turns to mush is because overcooked. So
that's my problem right there.
So cook it less, right?
Okay.
And the other thing you can do to it is maybe before, I would say 3 hours before you roast it, salt it. And the salt will pull out moisture from it. Then you can kind of pat that down and then roast it in the oven with whatever you want on it. And that'll also help reduce the moisture in the spaghetti squash, making it less prone to overcooking. Just remove some of that water content so it doesn't become mushy.
Excellent.
What are we fishing for this weekend in South Louisiana? And make sure you Dramamine, bro. My last experience was brutal.
Well, I think we're going inshore, so hopefully Dramamine won't be necessary.
Okay.
But myself, my wife, my mom, and my sister, we're all just going red fishing, speckled trout fishing, and out of Grand Isle, and it's been maybe I don't know, I'm about to turn 37. Probably been over 2 decades since I've fished with my mom, and probably just as long with my sister. And my wife just caught her first redfish yesterday. Wow. So we're all really pumped to fish together again and get on the boat and do that. So, but it's going to be your classic, inshore trinity of Louisiana, and that's redfish, speckled trout, and hopefully flounder. That's one of my favorite fish, not only to catch because they're so kind of sparse within fishing for redfish and speckled trout, but man, they are a tasty species.
Safe travels home. Great talking to you as always, and appreciate the insight on the coastal stuff, because I'm telling you, that duck camp dinners last night had me captivated in learning about what's going on with the southern part of our state. We appreciate the knowledge as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Have a great week.
Yes, sir.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Chef.
Birthday.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Today?
Thank you.
No, it's this weekend.
May 1st.
Good.
May 1st.
Okay, happy birthday.
Later, buddy.
Thank you so much.
All right, man. There's the chef. All right. Nice job there.
Yeah,
Oh,
good
yeah.
Lord, look at you.
He would do the same for us.
Look at Lizzie. Yeah, he
Look at
is.
you.
It's Louisiana, bro.
It is.
It's that Louisiana, just that.
Hospitality.
It is. Remember, Novice, they can help you custom design and develop mobile applications and websites. that help businesses solve some of their most challenging pain points related to staff, customers, processes. Their goals to make business more efficient, save time, provide a beautiful experience for their customers, a lot like they've done here for the Jordy Culotta Show. Get in touch with Randall Nachman and the crew over at Novice. They can help you out today in your mobile applications and your web designs. Let's take a break, reset. We'll talk to Roman Banks, Southern Athletic Director, as we close out the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered every day by Go Chevrolet. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Relief Health, the only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home or on site, Relief is changing how health care is delivered to you. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Download the app today, Relief Health, from the Apple or Google app stores. You can get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. Their COVID tests are live, and right now they have the Moderna vaccine. Online at reliefhealth.com or download the app from your Apple or Google app stores now. Relief Health, changing the way that healthcare is brought to you in 2021. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy at jordyculottashow.com, to learn about the bank statement loan program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy at jordyculottashow.com to learn more.
Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah.
All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Stop in and see Lee Carney, Nick Richard, and the crew over at Go Chevrolet. Appreciate Chef Jean Paul Bourgeois, Mickey Joseph stopping by in the first hour. And our next guest, athletics director, former basketball coach, Roman Banks, a mutual friend of both Lee Carney and ours over at Go Chevrolet. Big news right now, Southern University's head football coaching job is vacant after last week's news that Dawson Odums was moving on to Norfolk State. Coach Banks, of course, is the AD over at Southern and in charge of making that decision. We bring him into the conversation now here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. Doing great, man. How you doing this morning?
Doing very good. First off, before we talk about what's going on with you presently, let's talk about the news of a spring football season that wrapped up for the entire sport, for the entire division. What did you make of spring football and how it was executed and what you guys took away from it?
Well, obviously, it was good to get people back into some sense of normalcy. I think it was great for the student athletes. I thought we learned a great lesson from the teams that played in the fall. Obviously, we had a couple of stoppages due to COVID. But we were able to get our games in, I think, from Southern University's standpoint, that we did very well as it relates to being able to play with our student athletes and testing. So we're excited what we were able to accomplish. And obviously it was an exciting season. Our fans really enjoyed it. Our TV ratings was great. So we are pleased about it.
Do you expect to be playing in the fall, or do you expect something like this to maybe maintain and stay steady?
Certainly expect 100% to be playing in the fall. I think
I think that we understand this virus better. I think the vaccines give us a chance to all be vaccinated to get to some type of immunity. I think if we all continue to move forward and do these things and CDC guidelines because of these vaccines are letting us do a little bit more, we're very excited about the fall. Anticipate 100% being ready to go. Now, we may be in mask from a fan standpoint, and I think some of the regulations will still be in place, but we plan on being able to tailgate and move forward.
Dawson Odums spent 9 years in Baton Rouge on the Bluff. He was as respected of a coach as you could find in the sport. He resigned last week and took the Norfolk State job. I know that he was a good friend of yours without the professional relationship that you guys had. He was also a good friend of yours. Can you talk about what he brought to Southern University and the accomplishments he leaves behind as he moves on?
Yeah, good man, great coach. Sometimes, we only won the championship in 2013, but we won our divisions 4 times, I think 13, 14, 18, 19 under him. And he's a man of character. He's a guy that inherited the job through some tough times at Southern, but some of the transition phases that we went through with an unusual data ban with the NCAA and was able to march us right through. Great graduation rate, a man of character. You never hear about our programs under any type of scandal. A very good man, a personal friend of mine. I think he was a leader in our athletic department, and we're going to miss him very much. He's part of this Southern University family. We all make decisions for different reasons, and in our conversation, I understand, the opportunity that he had and at this point in life where he was at. And so, our relationship will continue to be good, and we support him from afar.
What is the criteria that you are looking to fill when finding his replacement?
Well, right now we're in such a tough space going through a spring. Right now, we'll be kicking back off, getting ready to start here very, very soon. And, you're going to have someone come in that brings some great chemistry. I think it's hard for anyone to come in and put in a system. You usually do those things through the spring. We had all spring. And so, we're in a tough situation about what direction to go in right now. So we're interviewing a lot of people. And, I'm looking at it from a couple of different standpoints. As we continue to interview a good pool of candidates, I think in a sense it may not be as fair to Southern University because a lot of people that are interested are tied into contracts and have a commitment to their programs this late in the game. And if this was November, December, January, I think it'll be different. But we have to really look at it from a professional standpoint. You can't get emotional about making this decision right now, talking about, hey, we're going to get this person or that person to talk about winning a press conference. You got to do the best thing for the program and the student athletes right now.
One of the names, and I know that you can't speak specifically just because the job is still open, but Marshall Faulk's name has been floated that he has interest. There are examples around your conference and around football that you and I have discussed both on and off the air, with Deion Sanders being over at Jackson State and Eddie George being brought into Tennessee State. I don't know if you can speak about Faulk's interest to the Southern job specifically, but have you thought about what that route could look like at Southern University if you were to bring in a big name without yet the experience or the resume that you may be looking for?
Yeah, so we had, first of all, we've spoken to his camp, his agent, his team. We've been in communication just like a lot of other people. And we look at it from that. Those are one of the options that we know we have. Being able to land someone that perhaps don't have any coaching experience as long as, and also collegiate experience. And so those are some of the things that as a group, as a committee, that we look at this particular time, is that healthy for the program. And so there's a lot of different scenarios, like I said, but obviously he brings a lot of impact to the program just by who he is and what he's been able to accomplish.
So he's interested?
Yes.
Wow. When do you look to have this thing filled?
Without putting a timetable on it, because I just think that we have to get it right. But we do look at, in my eyes, of having this thing closed by the end of this week.
What is the positive? When you look at that model, Coach, that they're rolling out in Jackson, that they are trying to get into at Tennessee State? Have you learned something from that model just after watching it for a year or less than a year in active, whether it be on the field or it be the promotion and interest around the program?
Yeah, but I think I learned a lot. I think that you look at things from afar, and obviously I think it depends on programs and university. So I think Southern University football is its own brand.
Sure.
I think we happen to be at one of the best places when you're talking about football programs at all levels. And I think that, when you're able to, at Southern, continue to win, we have a following in place. We have support in place. And so, though what I see, what Jackson State have done, it may work for them, it may not work for us. Those are just, I think, the decisions, and we have to weigh all our candidates out at this particular time. What's best for this particular time might not have been best for us if we had this opportunity to do this in December or January.
Yeah.
A lot of different dynamics. You're talking about retaining your own student athletes right now. We know the transfer portal is crazy, and we do have a team of juniors and seniors coming back that we have a chance to be in place. And from a fundamental standpoint, you don't want to disrupt that either. And so there are a lot of questions. And then you tell a coach, do you let a coach bring in their own staff, or you say, hey, you need to keep a few guys on our staff, and that can cause some chemistry problems. And so you have to be patient. You got to work with intensity, but you got to lay it all on the line. What's best at this particular time? And so I'm happy to be at a place that have a brand of its own, where I'm just concerned about getting the right person for this time.
Coach Roman Banks, Southern University Athletics Director, great light being shed on the search for the Southern University head football coach, which comes with a tremendous amount of interest when you just talk about that job being vacant in the sport right now, and Coach Banks and his staff are going through the process of getting that filled. We appreciate the insight and letting us in this morning, Coach. I know it's a busy time for you. Thank you for a couple of minutes here on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I appreciate you very much. Look forward to speaking with you after we hire our candidate.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach. There is Coach Banks. Wow. I mean, is Marshall Falk interested? Yes.
Have we talked to him? Yes.
Okay. All right, there it is. There's Roman Banks, Athletics Director, giving us the latest on what is going on with the Southern job.
As usual.
That is unbelievable, man. Marshall Falk is a true player for the opening up there. Wow. I mean, whew. Marshall Falk in Baton Rouge is the head coach at Southern.
And another thing we didn't talk about that we can probably get into tomorrow a little bit is the goodwill he brings to New Orleans. And he was Walter Payton Man of the Year before it was even named, dude.
Yes.
Like, he is an absolute fundraiser. Is connected to New Orleans and just the state recruiter, dude.
I mean, what a recruiting machine.
Southern going D1? What?
I mean, Southern comes to LSU next year.
Really?
I mean, they play at LSU.
No way.
Next season. Yeah, first time ever.
Wow.
It's going to be
golden.
Again.
Nicky boy, watch out.
Can you imagine? Marshall Falk on the other
sidelines.
Beautiful, man. Coach Roman Banks, thank you very much. Mickey Joseph, first hour today, talking LSU football. Tremendous insight from Joseph as he's hopping on a plane tomorrow to go check out the first round of the NFL Draft, where LSU should be so well represented with Jamar Chase and Terrace Marshall, two of his guys coming out of his room off the board.
You know what else is going to the draft? Roger's bringing his chair. That big leather chair that he, when he was in his little bunker or whatever. That
Goodell.
Roger, yeah, what did I say?
Rogers. It's cool. We knew.
Yeah, I
it,
know Rogers. Roger Goodell is bringing his little. He's bringing his sofa, his little chair with
RG.
him.
Cool.
RG, my guy.
Another thing we didn't talk about is J-Lo and A-Rod went to dinner.
Yes.
There's really nothing
This is
more
how you
to
tease
it
a
than
Thursday show.
That is exactly right. We'll give you the latest on J-Lo and A-Rod tomorrow.
And Roger's chair.
NFL Draft tomorrow. We'll talk more about it. Top 10 prospects that we're looking going into tomorrow's draft, and our plans for tomorrow night. What will they be for the first round of the NFL Draft here on the Jordy Culotta Show? Thank you for the interaction. Please make sure that you like, share, tell a friend about what's going on here between 7 and 9 a.m. on YouTube, Facebook, and JordyCulottaShow.com. We are driven and powered by Go Chevrolet every single day. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.